Hello, folks. Welcome back to second webinar of the UI Strikes Back Hackathon. Um, in this particular webinar, we'll be seeing how you can use second sponsor of the hackathon, which is Charlie, to win the hackathon. Just before we, head over and learn how to use Charlie for, winning, or maybe how to use Charlie in your project for the hackathon, I'll just quickly brief you that we are, doing a month-long Hack All February event, wherein we'll be running 4 hackathons per week of the hackathon, sorry, of February. So first, second, third, fourth week, it's all packed with multiple hackathons. This webinar is for the first hackathon, like the first week hackathon, which is the UI Strikes Back. In this hackathon, we are giving away $6,000 in cash prizes. We are giving away swags, we are giving away certificates, and you also have an opportunity. So let's say if you win this hackathon, or if you land in the podium positions, we'll give you an opportunity to interview for job and internship at Tambo. So make sure you give your best in the hackathon. That being said, let's quickly jump and start learning about Charlie. Riley, I'll give the stage to you.
Hey, thanks, Charlie. I'm excited to be here. I'm the founder of CharlieLabs, and I'm going to talk to you about how you can use Charlie to win the hackathon with the free credits that we're giving to all participants. Maybe a quick jump on that is there's a specific landing page that you can go to for /Tambo Hackathon. And then if you get started here, you'll get 10,000 free credits, which is $500 value. So what is Charlie? Charlie is an autonomous TypeScript engineer, coding agent. He works in the cloud. You interact with him through GitHub, Linear, and Slack. I'm going to show mostly GitHub today because it's generally easier to do that for hackathon type projects. But Charlie is a little bit different than the local coding agents you're probably used to, in the sense that he works entirely in the cloud and has his own VM that he runs in. And as part of that, he has access to a lot more data and is much more thorough and complete than a lot of other coding agents. So he's really good for kind of like deeper research, bigger tasks. And he generally works in more of an asynchronous way where you'll ask him to do something and then kind of go do something else and wait until he's done. I can show you like a quick demo of, you can ask him in Slack. You can assign him issues in Linear or GitHub issues. And then he also reviews PRs, and you can review his PRs. I'll show you real demos of all this in a second. There's a whole bunch of use cases. So then in terms of Charlie for the hackathon, you're going to still want to use a local coding agent for kind of like fast iteration, exploring stuff, quick fixes. But then where Charlie really shines is things like doing code review. So making sure that you catch bugs before you ship them. And then also he's really good at helping you fix those bugs quickly. Researching different ideas. So if you're not sure about how to use a technology or a library, Charlie can research it for you. Coming up with plans. So Charlie's kind of like Claude Code plan mode, but on steroids. He'll do a much deeper, much longer plan and come up with something that normally just works. And then the other thing that you can do with Charlie that is really special for hackathon is you can parallelize work. So if you get a whole bunch of issues queued up and you can get him working on all of them at the same time, and then he'll do a whole bunch of work at once, as opposed to you having to kind of babysit a local CLI along. And then the last thing, what happens inevitably when you do that is you end up with a whole bunch of merge conflicts because you have a lot of work landing at the same time. You can just ask Charlie in PRs to resolve the merge conflicts for you, and he'll do it, which is pretty magical if you've had to deal with a lot of agent merge conflicts. So getting started, you just click here. It'll take you through a sign-up flow where you will connect your GitHub. You can optionally connect Linear and Slack if you want, but you can also just use GitHub. And then one of the first things you're going to want to do is add environment variables. Charlie has his own VM and will actually run your tests, including integration tests and all kinds of things like that. So if you provide all the environment variables that are needed to run your local dev environment, Charlie will be much more powerful because he'll be able to do things like that for you. The first demo I'm going to do is, so most of these are going to be from our website repo. This is just for fun. I saw yesterday that the Codex launch had a Easter egg in it where there was a snake game. So I just asked Charlie, add a fun Easter egg game to the homepage. See what happens. A few more details. And then I assign this to him. So if you assign an issue to Charlie in GitHub, he'll start working on it and open a pull request. So he did that. He opened a pull request and he said, here's the game. You type snake anywhere on the site to make it start. So then this is the pull request that he opened. So you can see here, it'll say closes, so it links properly and then explains what he does. We can look at the code quickly. Looks like this is actually a tricky one because he's writing a bunch of JavaScript in an Astro site. It looks like he wrote just a script that's going to run in the page and do it. I mean, you can see here we have these inline comments from Charlie. So this is, he'll automatically review new PRs for you. So like this already has his feedback. And then let's take a quick look at the actual game. That's the wrong link. This is what we want. Okay, so now I got a type snake. Look at that. And then we got, so he did what we wanted, although this board is way too big. Let's just see if it works if I get this one. Oh, there you go. So I lose snake. Anyways, you can close that. So let's go back and say you're in a hackathon, you're in a rush. I'm just going to trust that his reviews are correct here. He normally is, but instead of replying to each of them individually, we're just going to go down and say, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to say push fixes for the code review. So then he'll automatically fix all the comments he left above. And we're going to say the grid tiles are too small. Make it so this is better. So I'll do that. And then now we should see. One thing is that GitHub, as I'm sure you all know, is pretty bad about live reloading. So you think something isn't happening, just refresh the page. It's probably a GitHub bug. Okay, so Charlie's starting on that. I see there's a question in the chat about adding issues. Charlie can make issues from other issues or from Slack. So that ends up being quite helpful, which I'll show you in a second how that happens while he's working on this. So this is an example of, we have these makeshift kind of like visual testing tools, but I decided I don't want to deal with that anymore, and we should just use a third-party service. So that this is the issue, and then I asked Charlie to analyze how the current tests work and what they're used for, research a bunch of services for potential replacements, and respond with the top 3 options, explaining why and what would be required to use them. So this is a good example of using Charlie's kind of like deep background research. He'll go and search the web, he'll look through the code base to see what's there already, and then he'll come back with, in this case, a very comprehensive response. So you can see here, he figured out how the tests currently work, so he could suggest good examples. And it looks like Argos, Percy, and Chromatic seems like pretty good options. Let's see what his recommendations are. So he says Argos because it's most similar to what we have. Seems reasonable. And then he's got links, so you can go click through and kind of research further. You could ask him here if you had more questions about what any of these or kind of how you should do it. You could ask that, but in this case, I just said, great, let's go with Argo. then instead of just going straight to a PR, I wanted to get an implementation plan so I could see roughly what he was going to do and how it's going to work. So this is where, to go back to the question from the chat, I said, please open a new issue. So he's going to make a GitHub issue to complete the implementation plan. It's bigger. So then you can see Charlie worked, and he said, okay, I opened a new issue with a complete Argos implementation plan. And then this issue was created by Charlie. And he has here a whole plan. So this is actually like a much nicer way of doing like plan.md or those type of things, because it's not stuck on your branches and you don't have to worry about kind of moving around locally or the noise that it adds to the repo. So this, and you could get any agent or a human could implement this. So it looks like we've got goals. This is nice that he's kind of carrying along the intent from the initial issue. Current state, architecture. Like, as you can see, this is a much more comprehensive plan than you'll get from most other agents. And like, it's actually calling specific stuff in the code base. It's not just kind of a generic copy paste of the docs. Acceptance criteria. Okay, so he's actually saying that we do it in 3 separate PRs. So I'm going to say I'll open the first PR. So you can anywhere, any text box on GitHub, issue or a PR, you can mention Charlie and ask him to do pretty much anything. Kind of like you would talk to a human. You don't have to use like commands or specific things. Like you could have said anything there, or you can do things like assign him. But in this case, because there's 3 PRs, I wanted to get him to just do the first one right away here, and then he'll do his work. And then if we go back to that snake game one, you can see he's still working. And then you can see the stuff that he's been doing along the way. See, there's a question from Michael on how would someone more junior use Charlie? A good way to use Charlie, if you're not sure, would be to create new issues asking how to do something. So say you wanted to, I don't know, what would be a good website feature? Add animation to homepage. So like, say we don't really know how we want to do it, we just want an animation. You could then say, Charlie, how would you suggest we do this? And then now what's going to happen is Charlie will go and think and come back and give you an explanation as to how he suggests you do it. And that's like, this is a good way if you don't know what you want to do already or you need some help, you can kind of just start with what you want and then ask how you would do it. We'll try and remember to come back to this tab in a little bit. And then another example of kind of using Charlie in parallel is, in this case, I wanted to make sure that the website was following best patterns. So I got Charlie to do a full audit. In this case, he went through all of the Astro docs and all of the website to come up with a whole bunch of things. And then you can, from there, get Charlie to make issues. And he'll make a whole bunch of issues. And then once you have the issues started, you can assign them all to Charlie at the same time, and he'll start working on them. So like if we go here, maybe even we could say, so we haven't, we asked Charlie how to do this, but we can also, while he's answering, we can just get him to do it. So if we did that, and then maybe let's make one for improve page load time. Do that. And then we can do another issue for, let's say, maybe let's just do something fun here. Let's say suggest or find times to improve designs. So then suggest ideas to and then we'll do one more for you effectively can keep going here, and if you had a whole bunch of different ideas that you wanted to explore in parallel, you can keep making these issues, and then you could just take these and assign them to Charlie. And then now what's going to happen is he's going to get started, and depending on how complicated they are, he'll finish anywhere from 5 minutes to say 45 minutes. It's kind of the high end. And then while he's doing this, you can just go back to working on whatever you were doing locally with your local CLI coding agent or cursor or anything like that. And then come back and you'll end up with, in this case, you're going to get a PR, or this one we asked for suggestions. So you're going to get a comment. And then this one, you're going to get a PR to make the page load faster. Let's go. So this is another example of an issue earlier. We have the landing page we were looking at earlier, but if you share it, it has a generic, our generic share image that you'll see in the preview. So I wanted to do a custom image. And in this case, I told them to use the image generation, which I can show you in a second, to create a custom share image for the page. Looks like we got a duplicate comment there by mistake, but then eventually there's a PR here. So he'll always kind of like respond in the issue, and he's good about linking between the issues and the PR, so you can see it here. Looks like he added the image. Let's see. There it is. There we go. We got both logos and an image. This is a good example because how this is working is he's using Playwright locally in his VM to generate this page and then take the screenshot and then add the screenshot to this PR. Another question from Michael: where does Charlie excel? By far the best way to use Charlie is kind of these like exploration, come up with good ideas, like when we asked for performance improvements or design ideas or plans or research, things that like you don't really know and they require quite a bit of thinking to come up with options, and then exploring those options by just assigning them to Charlie, because like to go all the way through implementing 5 different options locally is time consuming, because you have to switch branches and say yes and kind of like keep nudging the agent along. Where with Charlie, you kind of just assign him a whole bunch of stuff, come back in a little bit, look at it, and if you don't like it, you can just close the PRs. If you like it, you merge it, and that it's all additive to what you're already doing, because it takes very little time to do that. And then code review as well is like, it's hard to understate how valuable the code review is, especially if you're working really fast with a lot of agents, because they inevitably miss stuff or you give them bad instructions by mistake. And then Charlie is really good at not only pointing out issues like this, but also giving you suggested fixes. So this will explain kind of why this is wrong. And then you can also, if you want, like for the last one, we just got him to fix all of them, but say you just want this fixed, you can just come here and say, please fix this. And then now what's going to happen is Charlie is going to go read this, look at the diff, look at his comment, and then he'll push a commit to this PR with the fix for this specific option. So this is really nice for when you're moving fast. Instead of having to check out this branch, get it all up to date, ask an agent to do this, commit it, push it, go back to the branch you were on. You can just come in here and say, hey, Charlie, just fix this for me. Okay, got another question about Charlie is working on 2 tasks, but they have merge conflicts. So I mentioned earlier, Charlie is really good about resolving merge conflicts. Like if you get, I don't think we have, let's see if there's a PR that has a merge conflict. No, they're not going to. But if there was a merge conflict, you can just go to the PR and say, Charlie, fix the merge conflicts. And then turns out LLMs are really good at dealing with Git and looking at conflict diffs. So what will happen is he'll just fix that for you and push it up. A similar pattern that's really good here is if you have CI set up, which I'd highly suggest you at least get like your kind of tests and type checking running, then what you can do is if your types are failing from, like, say you use Cloud Code, it didn't run the types before it committed, it pushed it open, your CI fails. Instead of having to go back and check out that branch locally and fix them, you can just say, please fix the failing checks or tests or types, whatever. And then what'll happen is Charlie will start up, look at the PR, go look at the actual GitHub actions. Like if this is a failing visual test, but say it was failing types, he'll go in and look and see, okay, that's failing. And then he'll come back and he'll make a commit that fixes it and push it automatically to the PR. So like a lot of these things, like if you're moving fast, trying to get stuff done for the hackathon timeline, you don't really want to be continually switching branches from whatever feature you're working on to fix this stuff. When you see it, you can just ask Charlie, and he'll do it for you. Let's see, did Charlie? It looks like he's still working on this changes to the snake game, where we asked him to make the grid bigger. This is like a reminder, the wrong way to use Charlie is like to ask him to fix something like this and then sit here and just watch him work, because he's going to get it figured out eventually. He's a little bit slower, but you're kind of just wasting your time if you sit here and watch. Like I'd highly suggest you just let him do his thing, open up Cursor, Cloud Code, whatever you're using, start working on that feature locally. And then either when you get the notification or when you go back to GitHub, you'll see, oh, Charlie did that. And then you can keep going from there. It's like, think of it as like superpowers on top of what you're already doing, as opposed to like the single thing that you're gonna work on. Let's go see if any of these, if we got, Charlie's hard for quick demos because he's slow, but maybe one of the questions we had, he responded to. Okay, so it looks like he's still working on the PR for this as well. You can see here he's actually like, he's looking through older PRs, he's following conventions. So this is, Charlie acts much more like a human in terms of like his depth and his ability to follow your patterns and kind of do what you want, as opposed to literally exactly what you said. If another question from Michael about how would I use Charlie to win the hackathon? The first thing I would do is install Charlie and make sure you have good rules. So you can use Claude.md, agents.md, or you can use our own custom instructions. If you go to the Charlie docs, you'll see instructions here. So that's where you want to put any information about your project or specific things that you want Charlie to follow. And then I'd probably start by creating issues kind of like improved designs. And I would start brainstorming with Charlie around different ideas you have that you want to build, and say, like, I'm thinking about building this. How would you suggest I do that? Or give me 5 different ideas for how we could do this. And then say he gave you 5 ideas and you like 3 of them. I'd say, okay, now make an issue to implement ideas 1, 2, and 4. And then you're going to end up with 3 different issues for those ideas. And then you can do the trick that I showed earlier, where you would just select those 3 issues and assign them to Charlie. And then what's going to happen is he's going to go implement those in the background, and you can go back to kind of whatever exploration or feature you were working on. And then you can kind of just keep repeating that. So say you end up liking one of the ideas, you close the other 2 ideas, you work a little bit more, you're like, okay, now I want to add this feature or these set of features. You kind of go back to GitHub, you ask Charlie, hey, what are the 3 different ways or 5 different ways you think we should implement this feature? Maybe one of them's complicated. You ask for a plan. He generates a plan, kind of like we did with this Argos migration. The plans are really, really thorough, so there's a really high chance they're going to end up with a PR that does exactly what you want, works, passes CI, that type of thing. Then you can merge that and kind of just keep going with that pattern of research, plan, implement, and that's all going asynchronously in the background. And then if you're in a rush, I'd highly suggest that you just accept Charlie's PR feedback, kind of like we did for this snake game. You can, if you want, go through and reply one by one, but he's normally right, and it doesn't really cost you much time to just do what we did, where you say, please push fixes for the code review. And then you just kind of go back to what you were doing and come back in a bit, and he will have pushed the fixes. And it saves you a lot of bugs and a lot of future headaches for not that much time. So I think that's the majority of what I wanted to show you today. You can go to charlielabs.ai/tambo-hackathon. And if you get started here, you'll automatically get 10,000 free credits. This is $500 worth of value, and should be more than enough to get you through the hackathon.
Yep, I guess someone did also ask in chat that, is this free for hackathon? Yep, we are giving free credits for you to use Charlie for the UI Strikes Back hackathon. Riley, before we wrap up, I guess there were 2 questions which I saw. I'm not sure if you have answered those. Just let me know, we can skip them. So there was just one question from Mahesh saying that, is Charlie like completely browser based, or can we install it in IDE or maybe Cursor?
Charlie works only in GitHub, Slack, and Linear. There is actually no Charlie app. You just go into the dashboard and set it up, and then interact with Charlie directly through those platforms.
Got it. And there was one question from Phil saying, does Charlie always push to main, or does Charlie ever create new branches based on the fixes, or does he skip review automatically? Let's say if they want to have other code reviews tool running like CodeRabbit or something.
Charlie generally won't push to main unless you really ask him to. He much prefers to make branches and open pull requests and work that way. I think you can get him to push to main, but it requires like a lot of being strict to make sure that he's not making mistakes. One other thing worth mentioning is I would suggest having branch control on your repo. So just to make sure that either a PR approval or a human is required to merge PRs. That's best practice whenever you have coding agents around.
Yep. So thank you, Riley, for showing us the walkthrough of Charlie, and also thank you for joining and sharing. Just before we leave, folks, we are running hackathon for complete February. Like there are 4 hackathons, which will be conducted like consecutively, first week, second week, third week, and fourth week of February. We have $40,000 in cash prizes, job interviews, internship interviews, certificates, swags, and someone who participates in all the hackathon and submits a project will also get a Samsung Galaxy Flip 7. So make sure you give it your best and go for the win. Riley, is there any like closing remarks for the folks or maybe some tips for the hackathon?
Have fun.
Yep, have fun with Charlie.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you folks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, Riley. Bye.